Hey man, what's going on?
Just living the dream, my friend. Living the dream. Living
At
the dream.
home.
At home. I'm always at home.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Go. All right.
The travels do come.
I don't know. What's up, everyone? Everyone in the chats, how are you?
How's it
Hope
going?
everyone's
Good
staying
morning.
safe. We upgraded Patrick's equipment a little bit.
A little bit.
See you, Juan. Donald.
Morning,
Donald
good
had
morning,
a
good
had a great comment. So Donald said this is a nice way to spend his Saturday mornings while doing dishes. That's awesome.
Oh, dishes. Ooh,
Doing dishes and watching a little guy in a cube.
a little bit.
A
You
bit
only
said
live
it's
once, guys.
evening where he lives.
Hello, Otto.
Yeah. Otto, how you doing, buddy? Carlos. Argentina in the house. All right.
Good morning. Good morning. Good evening, depending on where you are in the world.
Depending where
right?
you are. It's beer 30 somewhere.
Somewhere.
All right. All right, guys, we're gonna kick it off.
Mexico.
We got 5 minutes here, so we're gonna kick it off to the countdown, and then we'll be back in 5 minutes. Hang in there.
Hey, Chris Finland.
Funny how the story goes, little hope but bigger dreams. They try to bring a sucker down, singing louder than the crowd. Listen the rhythm, I'm feeling brand new. Keep pushing forward, it's gonna save you. Never look down, love, not when we shine so bright. The sun is getting warmer. Oh, when we soar away among the clouds, the sky is just a border. Sip me up like lemonade. We both know it's bittersweet. This sorrowness will bite your tongue. No, bite your tongue. No, bite your tongue. No. Listen the rhythm. I'm feeling brand new. Keep pushing forward. It's gonna save you. Never look down, love. Not when we shine so bright. I know the sun is getting warmer. But when we soar away among the clouds, the sky is just a border. But when we're floating up like helium.
Yo.
Yo!
What's up, Patrick?
Hey, what's going on, man?
What is
Saturday
up, everyone
morning,
in the
Saturday
chat?
morning.
Saturday morning for us. Saturday evening for others.
Yeah.
If you're in Australia and you're up at this hour, kudos to you because it's pretty late there, and it's in the future.
They're in the
so-
future, though.
Yeah,
they're in the future. Yeah,
They're in the future. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this wonderful morning. Hope everyone is doing well in this day and time. So it is an amazing time to be alive. So, all right, Patrick.
It is, man.
Today, we are going to talk Pageant Reports. Now, here, that is your sweet mistress.
It's my sweet mistress. My sweet mistress. I like some Paginated Reports.
I know you do. I know you do. I have a long history with Pageant Reports going all the way back. So it's nice. It's nice to see someone else jump on that bandwagon. So and
You
I
know, it's funny if you search
Go ahead.
if you search the interwebs for reporting services stuff, somebody pops up.
Somebody.
You.
Yeah, you
Lots of
pointed
good
the
blog
wrong
posts.
way,
Yeah,
though.
you want some.
You
You
gotta
want,
go the other way.
I know. I gotta go that way. Some really good blog posts by that guy. Some really good blog posts by that guy. Yeah. Good stuff, man.
Yeah. So, so we're gonna get into some good information here about Pageant Reports, and then we're gonna answer some of your questions about it as well. So it's Pageant Reports definitely have a place, and I think we're gonna help answer some of that. Also, just so you know, if you see someone lurking in the chat, I know he's there. Mr. Chris Finland is in the chat watching as well, so he can help out with some of those as well. So I would say Chris Finland. I would label Chris as the horse's mouth. So Chris
I would say so.
Chris
I
is
would
the,
agree.
is
I
the
would agree.
PM
I
on
would
the
agree.
product team that owns Paginate Reports. So it's great to see him in the chat. So thanks for getting up early, sir. And I'm sure Paginate Report Bearer is sitting by your side, ready to mock us in some way.
Somewhere.
Yes. All right. So so
There's a good comment though. There's
Go for
a
it.
great comment. Let's just start with this comment.
Okay.
Is Paginated Reports meant to replace, I'm assuming, SSRS, not
Yeah,
SSIS.
not
I'm
SSIS.
assuming that's what
Paginate Reports in
I'm
Power
assuming
BI.
that's what Benjamin meant.
Yeah, Paginate Reports in Power BI are definitely not replacing SSIS
Yeah.
or SSRS. I mean, SSRS
No.
is still a thing.
Or
right?
SSRS.
Yeah, they all have
Yeah,
their
it's still a
place.
thing. That's right. We're still updating them both. We're still updating SSRS and Power BI Report Server, which is a superset of SSRS. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Not going anywhere.
Yes. All right. So one thing I think we should start off with here, it's the elephant in the room. When we talk Power BI Paginate Reports, Patrick, this is premium only.
It's
Right?
premium only.
is
Right now
premium
today.
only.
Right now today, it's premium only. As of this live stream, it's premium only.
This premium only.
You got to get it configured. Yeah, you got to set up your workload for it. Yep.
Yes. Now, with that, I'm trying to pull up the ideas item. There are, I should have had this before we started here. That was a fail on my part, but I would say go to, if you are interested in Paginate Reports outside of Premium, so for pro usage outside of Premium, definitely go to ideas.powerbi.com. There are, I know there's an item out there. My search foo is failing me right now. Oh, there it is. There it is. I got it. Hang on. Not going to share it on my screen, but I will share it in the chat. That is the Power BI, or the ideas.powerbi.com item for it. It currently has 3,900 votes on it, so make sure you vote that up and let your voice be heard. So that is something for you. So so lots of questions in here, right? So Rohan asked, is Paginate Reports only work with premium capacity? And so that is today inside of the Power BI service. Yes, that's true. But Paginate Reports are also available in other forms as well. So it's not just in the Power BI service. So you could do this from Power BI Report Server. You can do this from SQL Server reporting services. So those are all options that are available for you as well. So,
and you know what else? It's somebody else made the comment about export, Adam. I can't. I didn't want it to fly by. And there was a comment saying what Paginated Reports give you is unlimited export. And you did a really cool video on this.
I did.
Going from Power BI. Power BI has that limit on Excel and CSV files. I think Excel is 150 and CSV is 30,000.
Yep.
But when you're using Paginated and your video hit the nail right on the head, you can exceed that limit. You can go as far as you want.
Yep. So that is available for you as well. I'll try and dig up that item and put that in the chat as well. I was looking for that comment. I can't find it. So it's flying by too fast.
It's flying by.
Yep. So absolutely. That's a great use for Paginate Reports inside of Power BI itself. So, all right. What else we got? So let's talk about, Patrick. Why? First off, we're talking Power BI. Why would I use a Paginated report versus a Power BI report? Like, why is that even? I thought Power BI reports are just to be able to solve everything, and we don't need Paginated reports anymore. Debunk that for me, friend.
I think it's in the name itself, right? I think it's in the name of the product, right? Paginated Reports are Power BI. They're Power BI Paginated Reports, and then you have the Power BI reports, right? And the Power BI reports are, what do they call them? 5 minutes a while, right? But it's that one pane of glass. You got everything on that one pane of glass. But if you're doing Paginated Reports, if I need to go beyond that single page, how do you do it? You can't do it in Power BI, but you definitely can do it in Paginated Report. Should I head over to my laptop? Should we stop all this talking and head over?
Yeah, let's head over to your laptop, man. Let's do it.
Enough of all this talking. Let's head over to my laptop. All right. So pretend you got this report right here, Adam. Right? Yep. I spent a lot of time creating this beautiful Power BI report. And what you can see on this report, I have multiple invoices on this report. Right? What if I wanted to print a page for each one of the invoices? How would you do that in Power BI? I'm asking the audience, I'm asking Adam, how would I do this? I'm curious.
All right. Well, I would manually go in just one by one, and change my filter, then print, change my filter, print.
Wait a minute. We know how we do that. I'm not lazy, Adam. I'm just really efficient. That's not efficient, man.
That's not efficient.
I wouldn't do that. That is not efficient, my friend. And so, I would. That's where Paginated Reports really shine. They really allow you to do something that you can't do. So check this out. Before we get into this, though, so I'm using Power BI Report Builder, right? And so there's a couple of tools you can use to create your paginated reports in Power BI. There is SQL Server Data Tools, there is just Report Builder, and there's Power BI Report Builder. If you're going to create these reports for Power BI, right, the Paginated Reports hosted in Power BI, you should absolutely use the Power BI report builder because it's optimized for those paginated reports in the service. If you use another tool, it'll probably work, but you may do something that's not quite supported yet. And there was a comment in the chat window, Adam, about, hey, what can you do? Which tool should you use for creating your paginated reports? And
Right.
you should use Power BI Report Builder, right? All right. So looking at my paginated report, take a look at my paginated report. If I select the exact same filters, look what I get. There's invoice 1. If I go to the next page, there's invoice 2. So I can print them, I can export them. It looks like the screen is frozen, man. Just so you know. Yeah, it looks like the screen is completely frozen. I was looking at that. Don't know what happened. Don't quite know what happened.
Yeah. That's not good. All right.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I was looking at it and I saw it just freeze up.
Technical failures. Awesome.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now we're back.
Okay.
Now
Oh.
we're back.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Well, no, your desktop is still
well,
frozen. Yeah, your desktop is frozen. So.
My desktop is frozen. It's moving now.
Is it? I don't see it moving.
Yeah.
I do not see it on my end, buddy. So, yeah, I love Kevin's comment here. You should get premium screen streaming. I can't say that. I love it.
Hang on one second.
We did a bunch of tests. Yeah, see if you can.
I'm gonna restart the vMix desktop capture. Hang on
Yeah.
a second.
Still working out the kinks, folks. Still working out the kinks. So,
All right. And
so while we're doing that, there's a couple questions that are there. Oh wait. Oh, hey, that worked. That worked.
all right.
All right.
Okay.
So, a couple questions here. So, Sam's got a question here. Can Paginate reports be pushed out to users via email with only their data with a custom covering email? That's interesting. Custom covering
A
email.
data-driven subscription.
Is that
Well,
what
I
we're
think he's
referring to?
saying. I think so.
I got the feel of row level security in there, but
right, and so, but you got to have. Oh,
yeah, the custom covering email thing threw me off. I don't know what that means.
yeah. Maybe Sam could elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, Sam, I need you to elaborate that a little bit. All right.
Chris just made a comment in the chat saying soon. I guess Chris understood using the API with Power Automate.
All right. Yep. Chris said that. Using the API with Power Automate. Okay. Cool. Still trying to understand the. So Sam did comment. Yes, RLS. Can we use RLS with Paginate reports? So, yep. Cool.
Yep.
All right. So, and in the general service, you should be able to use row level secure. Like it'll honor the row level security if you have that defined on a data set. Like if you're connecting to a Power BI data set from a Paginate report, RLS will be covered there. So, excellent. All right. Sorry, my friend. Continue, sir.
No, keep going.
Oh.
This is good.
Okay. I didn't know if you were like in the middle of showing something, and we let's look at sorry, I'm trying to go through all these. Let's look at so we already did that one. Paginate report supports parameter-based query to fetch the dataset only, but Power BI reports cannot.
Paginate reports
Ken,
uses
I don't
parameter-based query.
know. I mean, because you can use URL-based parameters with Power BI reports.
Yeah, but I think he's talking
Oh,
about.
I know what he's talking about. I know what he's talking. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
So you can create those parameters in Power BI, but those parameters compared to the parameters in reporting services, Paginate reports, are completely different. The parameters in Power BI are a data set level thing. So when I do my refresh, right, I can control which connection string or what data I'm filtering out. But when it comes to Power BI, it's kind of like a real-time query, a direct query that I'm sending back, when I run that report and providing the filter then, at runtime, where Power BI data sets is something completely different.
Yep. So it's
Like,
just a different.
Are you
way
still
to
showing
handle
my
it.
screen?
No. Do you want me to show
Are
you
you showing my screen? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So like, if you look at the report on the screen now, and it's not showing It's not showing what I'm showing.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
Oh,
we're
it's
gonna
just a
have to-
lag.
We're gonna have to figure that out.
All right. That's what I was trying to. Somebody say, "Can we get a look?" All right. So you can see at the top, I have these parameters, and when I specify these parameters, I'm connected to my backend is a SQL server. It's taking those parameters and passing those into the report at runtime, and then it's bringing just the data I need for that particular report. And where it's different from Power BI is you take all your data, cache it up into the data set based on the parameters that you specify in Power Query. So completely different thing, right? Two completely different methods and two completely different mechanisms for accessing data.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So let's look at. So we've got one in here. All right. So Edgar's got a question. Adam, how can I create a parameter from an existing data model? I keep getting errors on dependencies.
I need some more details. And what's the error?
Yeah. What's the error?
What's the error? I mean, because in Power BI, if you use Power BI Report Builder, if I go back to the design mode in Power BI Report Builder, and I choose I choose a data source, you see right there. Let me zoom in on this. You can see that I can do a connection to a data set, and then I can build the queries however I want, right? I can build.
And you can still
a
use
query that's
parameters with those, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can write my own DAX, and that's typically what I do when I'm using Power BI Report Builder. Not that Power BI Report Builder doesn't generate really good DAX, really efficient DAX. I tend to write my own DAX queries for my parameters because the Report Builder will add a lot of overhead that I don't want, and so I write my own DAX queries to populate those, and then you can filter your objects or your data sets, or you can build that into the parameters of the data set. You can completely do it. It works. I just need to know what error he's getting.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's see what else we got here. We've got
Ooh, do the last question. The one that's in there now. I'll read it. Can we connect to two or more different by Goku?
Yep.
I'm sorry if I.
Yep.
Can we connect to two? Yeah. Go ahead, Adam.
Two or more different Power BI data sets and use them in prompts in Report Builder.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. So basically, using those. So in Power BI today, for Power BI reports, you have this limitation of we can't use composite models with two different Power BI data sets, right? So it's got to either be direct query or import. And then with Power BI Reports Server or Power BI Paginate Reports, you can absolutely connect to two different data sets and do that. And there's nothing stopping that. So.
And if there's key values that you have across those data sets that relate them, you can use a function that's available in Power BI Reports, Paginated Reports called, I think it's lookup, and you can connect them and even filter both of those across each other. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. So let's see here. So Kevin had something here. I haven't read it completely. As a silver level Microsoft ISV partner, do we get access to Power BI Premium in our partner membership so we can access Paginated Reports? I don't know. My gut would tell me no. So I'm not aware of anything. I'm pretty sure the answer to that is no. So, which one?
Here's another good one. The last one by, it's not the last one anymore. Rahul Yadav. I guess that's how you pronounce it. He is correct. There is a limit on the number of items in the select all items and parameters where we get errors. You're absolutely correct. And we know about it. Chris Finland knows about it, who's on the chat right now. I don't know, what the limits we're working on, but you can definitely do some filtering in the parameter, right? Instead of returning everything or kind of breaking it up a little bit. That's one solution that we worked on for one of the customers I was working with.
Nice. So, anyway. Very nice. So Dimitri said, I'm still awaiting response on the A4 Plus Pro from a licensing perspective. So the A4, you can run paginated reports. Like, it supports that functionality. The problem you're going to have, though, so if all your users have pro licensing, then yeah, you're good, right? And that works. Because the thing that you lose with the A4 is that sharing and collaboration aspect that you get with Power BI Premium. But if everyone's got a pro license and you're just doing this internally, that should work. I mean, there's nothing stopping that. So, yeah. Yep. Yep, that should be good to go. So, let's see here. All right. So Patrick, tell me about, let's talk about maybe someone's been using SQL Server reporting services, or they've been using Power BI report server. How do I migrate to Power BI, the service, the cloud service? Is it just, do I just republish and everything's great? Or am I going to run into some things? Is there anything to help me?
Yeah, so there's a migration tool, and I'll get a link, and I'll find the link, and I'll post the link in the chat. Finland may, or one of you guys may find it's on GitHub. There's a migration tool that'll actually look at a folder or a specific report, and then it'll tell you if there's something that Paginated Reports don't support. So when I run it, it'll say, oh, well, you can't do sub-reports. Like, sub-reports aren't supported right now, and it'll give you an output. It'll give you like a exception report to say, hey, you can't do this. Or if it works, it'll download it and upload it to the workspace for you, and it'll just works. It just works. It's nice. Yeah.
Yep. So Bradford asked, I'm assuming, it says, when is that coming to Power BI? Need that badly. You lost my audio? Let me know in the chat if you can still hear me. I can still hear you, Patrick.
No music, nothing.
I can hear you. All right. So people in the chat say they can hear me, so it's just an issue on Patrick's end. It's just you, my friend. It's just you. So anyway, so Bradford made a comment here. When is this coming to Power BI? I know, I hear you. Need that badly. Need to use analysis services and other data sources. So I'm assuming you're referring to composite models in the Power BI service. The release plan, the public release plan, has that noted there, and I believe it said August for public preview. I'd have to verify that, but in the release plan, it's composite model support for data sources are planned for August 2020 per the Power BI release plan that is publicly available. Yeah, that was a Patrick issue. Cool. With the audio thing.
I don't know. I had to redo vMix, and I came back. I don't know what happened.
All right. Yep. All right. It's not about the cell set. It must be them Beats. Should probably get the Surface headphones. He thought about it. He almost was going to spend like $300 on a new headphone. I told him just replace the earpiece because they were peeling.
We spent a lot. We've spent a lot of money these past couple of days. I'm not buying anything.
When he says we, he means him. It was just because of me. So.
Yeah. No.
Oh, and it's not about the cells. Commented the composite model for Power BI data sets got pushed back to September. So I haven't. Just go off of whatever's in the release plan. Whatever date's there. That's the official word. So, all right, cool. Let's see. So were we done talking? Was there anything else you wanted to mention about migration? And like, are there any limitations I have when I migrate?
Yeah, no? There are. There are some things that. Yeah, there's some things that we don't support yet. Right? There's some things Paginate Reports don't support yet, and the Chris Finland and his team, they're working on getting everything up to parity. And but the migration tool will definitely let you know before it tries to migrate that report if it's supported or not. Nice.
And then it's not about the cell commented wave, plan, tomato, or potato, tomato, whatever. I actually got in a comment with someone about this. It actually uses the word plan and wave. So it's the release plan, which is the overall item that covers all of it, dynamics and whatnot. And then the individual items, I believe, is called wave. So the 2020 wave 1 or something. I don't know. Whatever. I don't have any say in that naming structure. So, Cool. Let's see. KR's got a question here. When there's more than one parameter, will it wait for the first parameter to fetch the list of parameter one? So cascading parameters. Yeah. How do you? Is that possible? I don't know, Patrick. Is that possible?
It it is, but let's say I have the first parameter that's year, right? So I select year, and the second parameter is month, and I only have a couple of months. I have to filter or write the query so that it's accepting the parameter from the first query from the first parameter.
Right.
I have to pass the first parameter to the second parameter, so it'll filter out that way.
Yep.
It just doesn't automatically do it. You got to build it.
Yeah. So, but you can configure it to support. So, Paginate Reports absolutely supports cascading parameters.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you can do it.
Absolutely.
It's not there by default, but you can get it working. So awesome. Let's see here. So Juan just had a nice comment in the chat. I want to call that out. Sorry for this, guys, but it's my moment to regard you for your job and contribution. Really thank you for the help to this community and going. I don't know what that is, but Juan, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Much appreciated, my friend. All right. Let's see what else we got here. So Kevin, this was a little bit ago, so maybe this was answered in the chat. I don't know. But so he's like, I don't get the premium versus pro feature play by Microsoft. It's very frustrating. I hear that a lot from folks. It's something that does exist. But just note that, the idea of the pro versus premium, the things that I've seen, look at incremental refresh. So that was a pro-only feature, and that's now available for pro as well. And then Paginate Reports, hopefully one day that will also make it to pro. But those are things. The way I look at it more is like, this is me personally, just my opinion, is that premiums seems more like that's if I want to go big scale and do things at that level. But today there are some feature capabilities that are limited to premium only, Paginated being the big one at this point, now that incremental refresh is available for pro. So
yeah.
A lot of misconceptions also about like composite models and aggregations being available. Like that's a premium only feature, and I'm like, no, that's not a premium feature. So you can do that without premium. So good sentiment though. Let's see here.
Man, there's a lot of stuff going on.
I know. The chat is nuts. Kudos to Chris for helping out there. It's much appreciated. Yeah. All right, so Mohammed's got a question. Is there a way to copy the matrix in a Power BI report to a paginated report? There is not. And I've heard that as well too. Like if going from any format to a paginated report. So I've heard like, well, hey, how do if I've got a Tableau report, or I've got maybe an old Cognos report, or one of those items. Like, how do I migrate that to a Paginate report? And unfortunately, you're gonna have to. It's basically just a rebuild. You may find, if your internet searching is good, you may find something that is out there to help you with that migration, like some third-party tool. But there's nothing out of the box today for doing any of that. So. So Chris asked a follow-up question to Mohammed on this. This is good. So he's like, would like the ability to have a paginated report matrix as a visual in a Power BI report be useful? That's an interesting item. Like
you know what? Only if it's going to print the whole matrix, right? It's going to page out the whole matrix when I print. Yeah, I don't want it to print the screenshot of what I can see, right? I mean, come on. Let's go all out. If you're going to do it, go big. Don't go small, go big.
Well, in the Power BI report, then, just set your page length to be, 9,000 pixels, and that'll be fine, right? That'll work. I can print that.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So let's see here. Bradford commented also that they're migrating from Cognos. So a lot of folks are migrating from stuff over to Power BI report, or Power BI in general, which I love to hear. That's always welcomed. Let's see here. Here we go. Ken's got another question here. When should we use drill through from Paginate reports to Power BI and vice versa? It's interesting. I would say it depends on your scenario, right? Like it's all about what are you trying to accomplish. So the one case, the one video I put in the chat that Patrick mentioned is there's a I use that the example or scenario I used in that is look, I'm hitting a limitation on the table export of the 150,000 rows in Excel, and I want to then I have a little image for like PDF or Excel or CSV. I click on that, it generates the URL to the Paginate report to then export the Excel so I don't hit that row limit cap. That's one example of when I would maybe do a drill into, and not even a drill or just an export, but you could do the same thing from a drill perspective of doing that. If you have a clean, crisp paginated report, you're in a Power BI report, but you want to be able to print off some crisp item that's pixel perfect, right? Then that may be a good reason for doing that drill through into a paginated report from a Power BI report.
Yeah.
And then vice versa, if you're in a paginated report and maybe it's like, hey, we've got this static set of data or a static view of what that is, but hey, maybe I want to explore on that a little more and just see kind of maybe some what if type scenarios. That might be a good reason for jumping from a paginated report into the Power BI report, right? So it's all about what it is you're going to need and what your scenario is. So,
if you want to go all ad hoc on your data, right? If you want to go all ad hoc on it. Yeah.
All right. So I don't remember us actually mentioning this in the beginning, but Mohammed did bring up a good point of not that one. Not Mohammed. But Mohammed said Patrick's right. Users will prefer the whole table in Paginate compared to Power BI when printed. Yes. Awesome. All right. So the Skull Prophet had an item here. I don't know if we covered this, but he said he's new here. Could we explain when you can and should use a paginated report? Like what's the point of a paginated report versus the Power BI report? Patrick?
There's a lot of reasons. There's tons of reasons to use paginated reports. The primary reason I was showing it a little bit, and I think my screen stopped sharing, is when you need to export. You need to exceed the export, what that Power BI exports. That's one reason, right? The second reason, though, is when you need to page. When you need to page, if you're trying to, a good example, and this was a really unique one, was they wanted to print report cards at a school. They wanted to print report cards, and I wanted to print report cards for all the students in a particular homeroom. If I tried to do that in Power BI, I really can't do that. But if I'm trying to print multiple report cards or multiple invoices in, from across multiple pages, that's when you use paginated reports. And if you look at really detailed operational types of reporting, that's when paginated reports make sense. But if you're using Power BI reports, it's more of an analytical or ad hoc type of thing, right? If you want to, do some data discovery, where paginated reports just don't give you that. They are more pixel perfect, IT authored types of reports.
Yeah.
Okay,
yep.
Maybe I went too far. But there you go.
Yeah, that's good. All right. So I want to say his name is Andre. I'm going to go with Andre. And also, Andre, kudos to you. Thank you so much for signing up to be a Cube visitor. Definitely appreciate that as a new member of the channel. So he says, I'm using Paginated Report for a report that needs to be generated for 300 plus clients, and then save on SharePoint and run a script to change the name of every report. Any recommendations? So we're generating... I'm assuming we're generating a PDF for that, and then we need to save that on SharePoint and run a script to change the name of every report for each client. So, which is interesting because if you do that, if we just do one generation of the Power BI piece of the Paginate report in a PDF, it's going to have the same data for everyone. So I'm assuming we're going to run this 300 times based on a client parameter to generate that and then dump that into a SharePoint list. Either way, that sounds like for me, that sounds like a great case for like Power Automate or something of that nature to do some operations on it. There's not I don't know, there's not a native on the export to for Paginate reports is not there yet, but you could manually write up a PowerShell script that's going to call like a URL that does that. So it's kind of somewhat of a hack where you could do the export format on the URL and then just manually call that from a PowerShell perspective, package that up, execute that from either Power Automate or some other fashion, and then dump that into SharePoint and put in those parameter names. So I would look at Power Automate for that, or something similar. So either maybe if you're using Azure Data Factory or SQL Server Integration Services, that's a great way to do that as well. So lots of ways to trigger and automate and things of that nature. Good question. Good question. All right. So let's see here. All right. So Mahesh, Mahesh has a question here. My report server takes a long time to load the report. Are there any caching options available on the server side or memory tuning? Good question. Good question.
Yeah. You could start, right? We'll just start with cache data sets. I'll let you get into the report configuration and all that stuff, right? But you can start with a cache. You can start with a cache data set, depending on how the latency, right? How fresh that data needs to be. If you're going against a data warehouse that's loaded nightly, you can have your cache data sets run after your data warehouse loads, and then your reports would just hit that cache data set. And then they will just open instantaneously.
Yeah, I would say you probably have a little more options on the on-prem solution than you do on the Power BI service, because on the on-prem, you can actually do like the report snapshotting, which I don't believe is, that's not there on the Power BI service side. So that would allow you, so the report snapshotting for on-prem, either in Power BI Report Server or in SQL Server reporting services, what it does is it basically on a triggered basis or some schedule, it will actually run that report and then cache the results. So when someone hits it, it's not going and doing all the querying again. So that's a great way to improve performance of a given Paginate report. That's dependent though, like, look, it's going to be based on whatever, if you have different parameters, that snapshot is based on the parameter selections. So that could cause some complications for you. But that's a way you could end up doing it on the on-prem. On the Power BI service side, like what Patrick said, I mean, it's all about at that point, it's about your data source or the data set or the connection, the performance on that at that point. So it's going to have to render it. So good item. All right. So I'm going to not say this name correctly. I'm so sorry. Nachari? Chari's got a comment here. Sorry I missed the first half of the broadcast. Does this cover Power BI Paginate reports on-prem, I believe? So I want Power BI on-prem as data source for... Oh, that's a good point. So someone else had this question earlier on, I think also. I'll have to find it. But can I use, if I'm on-prem, can I use a Power BI data set that's in the service as my data source? I think that's what... Yeah. Achari was going for. So yeah, they want Power BI on-prem as data source for Paginate Report, if that's possible.
Yeah, so you can't do it like you can do it in Power BI Report Builder with connecting to the data set, but if you go through the XMLA endpoint, you could do it, and it should work. So that's just like connecting to the data set.
Right. So XMLA endpoint, so that is a premium only option. So it only replies or corresponds to a data set that's backed in a workspace backed by Power BI Premium. And at that point, that's just an analysis services connection. And so you could do that from an on-prem perspective. I've also heard comments along that line too, or questions along that line of, if I published a Power BI report in a Power BI report server, can I do a Paginate report on that same Power BI report server connecting to the data set of the Power BI report? And the answer there is no. Technically, you could potentially do it, but it's fraught with issues, and because there is an underlying AS instance that runs, but I would not recommend it. So you could technically connect with an AS connection there, but you got to get the GUID of the data set right and make sure it's loaded, and because that thing gets loaded in and out based on the Power BI report, not the Paginate report. So knowing that that data set is actually loaded in memory that's anyone's guess, right? So that's fraught with problems. So in general, though, a Power BI data set, think of that as an analysis services tabular model, and so we could connect to that, in various ways. So, but to connect to, so actually, sorry, I'm going to correct myself a little bit. Wasn't there? Chris may have said this in the comments, I don't know, but I recall something where we could connect to data sets from Power BI Report Builder that weren't in premium. Is that right? So like if you're just a pro user and it was there, I thought I remember something about that. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. I don't remember.
If you connect to the data set, right?
Chris said, stop telling him terrible hacks. Hey, I'm just keeping it real. Chris said, yes, you can. So yes, you can connect to... So Chris is verifying that, yes, you can connect to a Power BI data set in the Power BI service without it being backed by premium. From on-prem. That's correct. Yeah. All right. I'll let him correct in the comments if I'm off base on that. What else we got? Let's see here. Oh, Chris said no. All right. Well, I'm wrong on that. So refer to the documentation, please, on that one. That gets a little. You said in the context of report builder. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. All right.
I wouldn't even talk about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even talk. All right. Scratch all of that. We're just going to cut that out. All right. So let's see what else we got here. All right. So Vinay just post something here. So how can we browse a Pageant report hosted on premises from outside the organization? Ooh. Patrick's shaking his head no, but you can absolutely do that.
Yeah, but it's not easy.
It's not easy. And you know what? You know what it requires? You know what it requires? It requires a little bit of Kerberos.
You see me rolling my eyes.
It just works.
You see me rolling my eyes. Yeah,
yes.
no, it doesn't just
requires
work.
a little bit of Kerberos.
You can do it.
What you have to do is, what I don't recommend you do is expose your report server that's on premises just out to the internet, because that will be, that's just not secure, and I don't recommend that. Also, by default, the on-prem solutions by default use Windows authentication. There was in SQL Server reporting services, there was a custom security extension you could use, or there were ways to use anonymous access, which I absolutely don't recommend. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But they were, there is a way that you can put, trying to remember, it's a web application proxy in front of Paginate, in front of an on-prem solution. That will allow it to be exposed to the internet. It's still gated by a login, right? So you still need a login for that organization to get into it, but that's a way that you can at least host and expose your on-prem report server to the internet through that web application proxy. That's the Microsoft solution. I'm sure there's other solutions that do the same thing, right? So that's something you can look at. The configuration of that is a pain in the butt. I'm just going to be honest with you. So there's security certificates that you've got to have in place on multiple levels, multiple certificates that have to be in place. Active Directory Federation Services, or ADFS, needs to be configured. You got to have the web application proxy going. Constrained delegation from a Kerberos perspective is in the mix, but it just works. So it's great. All right. Gana Prakash.
I cannot keep up with this chat.
I know. Gana Prakash says, when is the on-prem gateway support coming for Azure data sources? You can do that today. I don't necessarily know
right now.
What that means. I can force Azure SQL database source through the gateway. So, wait. In the context of Paginate Reports. That is a different piece. Sorry, I was just thinking in the sense of regular Power BI reports and the gateway, but yes, in the case of Paginate Reports, that is problematic. So that is not supported right now. Go ahead.
There's a question by KR, I don't know how to pronounce it, about version control.
Okay.
And so with Paginate Reports, if you use Visual Studio to create your reports, right? Visual Studio, or whatever they call it, data tools these days. Yeah, it integrates with a lot of version control tools. If you use Power BI Report Builder or Report Builder, you can still take those RDL files and put them in some type of version control. You don't have to just use OneDrive, right? You can check
so if you're using GitHub,
it's just on a per file basis.
Right. So if you're using GitHub, basically those RDL files are going to sit in a folder somewhere, right? And so if that folder is
Yeah,
backed
yeah.
by, if you're using GitHub for that, SQL Server Data Tools has automatic integration with source control. So if you're using GitHub or some other source control, you can do that. If you're just doing it in Report Builder, you have to manually do the checkout, check-in, all of that, and commits and stuff from and whatever, maybe, pull requests and whatnot from a GitHub perspective. But you can absolutely do it. It's just an RDL file. It's just an XML file. You can do diffs, you can do merges, that kind of stuff. So if you are doing merges on items and changes, test. Make sure you're testing the output of that merge. So I'm not going to say it's always going to be 100% great. Merges are always sometimes fraught with problems if you're not doing it right. So be aware of that. All right. What else we got? All right, so someone asked
There was
about...
one question
go ahead.
earlier. There was one question about what do you get besides Paginated Reports and Premium?
Okay, I don't know
wanna
where that
answer
is.
that
So, wait, yes.
It's gone.
Yes. No, I got it. Is it that
Yeah.
one? What can you do with Premium that you can't do with Pro regarding Paginated Reports? Well, so you can't do Paginated Reports in Pro at all. So you get
Right,
Paginated Reports
right.
in Premium. To take this a little bit further, what can I do on premises that I can't do in the Power BI service with Paginated Reports?
Data-driven subscriptions, snapshots, sub-reports.
Sub-reports.
Yeah, sub-reports
Yes.
are big.
Yep. So there are some capabilities that you have on premises that you don't have in the Power BI service. I know Chris and team are well aware of those, and I've heard him say in many public places that they are working on it. I know Chris absolutely. Chris said sub-reports in April. So sub-reports are coming in April.
My jazz hands.
Nice. Yes, sub-reports in April, so that's great. So Chris, does that mean data-driven subscriptions in May? I know the answer to that is no, but just, I always want more, Chris. I always want more. He did finally get me the URL parameters, though, right? To make my button thing work, and I hounded him like no end on that one.
Constantly.
I did.
Yeah, and so John Kursky posted a question about RS format in the query string for exporting. And so, there's a render, URL. There's a URL parameter you can do if you want to do PDF or Excel. You showed that in your video.
I did. I'll put the link to the chat. I'm putting the link in the chat again. That video, I show like how to do that. So yes, you can absolutely do the format. I don't know that it's off the top of my head. I don't remember that it's actually rs:format. I think that it's a little different on the parameter itself, but you can do it. It's the same effect, right? It allows you to do that. So awesome, love it. All right, so Patrick, this one's for you. Brad asked a question. URL parameters. Can you tell us more about that?
It's a great video. I'll get the video for it, and I'll post it in the video. But you can absolutely do it. You can pass them in the string and filter away. So I'll find the video, Adam.
Yep. So let's see what else we got here. So Chris did comment on the data-driven subscriptions. He said they are coming. No commitment on timeline, but they are working on it. And it'll look a little different than on-prem, and that makes sense because the Power BI service, the way things are handled in the Power BI service, are vastly different than the web portal inside of Power BI Report Server or SQL Server reporting services. So that's to be expected. It may look a little different, but the end result hopefully will be familiar. Let's see what else we got here. Let me go back to I did tag a few from a queue perspective. Let's see here. So Vermont said, been waiting for this kind of talk where I can get both of you at one place for quite some time, for quite a long time. I agree. It's always nice to do so. Patrick and I definitely prefer to do stuff together. When we're doing the recorded video format, it's not that easy just because we're in two different places. So typically most folks could only find that if they were at conferences where we were at. But now doing the live streams, we've got a setup now where we can do that, assuming Patrick's internet keeps up with it. So, yeah.
There was
Go ahead.
there was something running in the background on this machine, and I closed it, and I saw everything, just the performance get much better. So
Was it Microsoft Teams?
it was. I'm not saying if it was Microsoft. I will not answer that question, sir.
Just saying. Just saying. It's not about the cell. Made a comment here that MBAS was canceled. It is not. He did correct himself, though, and he did said, I guess it moved online. Yes, so it is moved to a digital-only format. That is as of yesterday, so Business Application Summit will not be in person. It'll be online only. So, that was foreseeable. I expected that to happen, so not surprised at all. So here's a request for you, Patrick. Carlos asked, can you please make a video about Power BI report server subscriptions, limitations, PBIX versus paginated? We did some videos, because you do have some Power BI report server videos out there where you talk about some of that. I don't know if it covers all of those items specifically, but
No, not all those things. So we need to put that in our little video list. That's going to be more than one video, though. That's not just one video.
Yeah. So Bradford also commented that Gartner was canceled. So Gartner was technically postponed, not canceled. So we're waiting to hear what the new dates are for that. It was because that one was going to be it's week after next, and that was too short notice to get just to say, hey, we're doing it digital instead of in person. So maybe they'll come up with a digital format. I don't know. We're waiting to hear. Let's see what else we got.
Wait.
Go ahead.
So Perry Lazenby said, will Microsoft provide a better mechanism to access SSRS datasets from the Power BI desktop?
What is? Oh, so if you define a data set, so I think what they're referring, what Perry's referring to is a shared data set from a Power BI report server or reporting services perspective, and there's no plans that I know of to do something like that. I would, again, ideas.powerbi.com. It would be interesting, I think, from a Power Query perspective, to use that as a get data source to say, hey, there's a data set, a shared data set defined in. It's almost like a SQL view at that point, right? But at that point, I would also challenge you to say, if that's what you're trying to do, why not do, depending on what your data source is, why not just do, why don't you just access that from a view perspective in like SQL or something like that? I don't know what your data source is. Although Chris did get on to me. It says you can access those via OData. Sure.
I was waiting for him to say that. He and I talked about that.
OData is absolutely performant. You should absolutely go use it.
Yeah.
It's very slow. So, yeah. Just OData in general is slow.
Look at this one by Scott. Pop that one up, Scott Powell.
Before you do that, Otto, thank you so much for becoming a supporter. Muchly appreciated.
Yeah,
thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right, what did you said? Scott had something here.
Yeah, pop that one open. Put that one on the screen.
Struggle with formatting in Paginate Reports like fit to width. Looks fine in Report Builder, but columns split across pages. I don't know what the rest of it, but we get that. Yeah, Patrick, do you want to share the tip I gave you early on about items?
I can't get the edges quite right, but use a rectangle.
Well, so the advice I gave
Always
Patrick,
use a rectangle.
The old joke we had when I was doing support on SQL Server reporting services, we had this long-running joke of if someone had an issue with a design of a report, maybe there's blank pages, maybe stuff's just not coming out right or formatted correctly. If it's in a rectangle, move it out of the rectangle. If it's not in a rectangle, put it in a rectangle, right? And so that fixed a lot of issues. So play around with that a little bit. If it's actually bleeding over where it works on the, like when you're actually viewing it, but when you print it bleeds over into another page, you're saying that you do have fit width, but check some of those options on like columns and things of that nature. There may be something in there that is throwing it off. Again, if it's not in a rectangle, stick it in a rectangle, see if that fixes it. Also, pay attention to the keep together properties on the Paginate report, because sometimes that will affect, if you're using keep together, like maybe you play around with that a little bit, differences between it on or not, and at what level you're actually doing that. That can sometimes have an effect on it.
There's some good documentation out there. There really is. There's a doc out there on the Power BI guidance document that talks about, avoiding white pages, empty blank pages on your reports. Just go check that document out.
Yep. All right, Patrick, last thing I do want to touch on, just from a Power BI premium perspective, if you're going to be using Paginate Reports, let's talk about resources and resource allocation. What should you be aware of there? Assuming your desktop share is working.
Let's see if it is.
All right. See you hovering over settings.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
And so we're going to go to in your workspace. If you are a admin, you go to the admin portal and choose on click capacity settings.
So this works if you're a capacity administrator. Yeah, this takes a little bit sometimes. So if you're a capacity administrator.
Yep.
And then inside of that, you're going to have items, different workloads that are there. So you've got data set workloads, AI workloads, data flow workloads, and Paginate report workloads. Oop, go up. Yep. Go. All right. And so each one of these are different things compete for resources, right? So you got to be aware of that in terms of what's consuming memory and whatnot. So that's the AI workload, data flows. Man,
there we go.
So many options. And then Paginate reports. So here you can see max memory. So this is how much memory our Paginate report's going to consume on that capacity. And so that's something you need to be aware of. And that may be something you can play with.
And I think you can go up to 50% now with Paginated Report. I think it's 50%. So, but you got to be careful, because realize if you're using a P1, right, you're saying Paginated Reports can take up to half of your memory.
Chris just said you can go up to 100% now.
Oh, didn't know that. All right. Well, there you go. Be careful.
So that gives you an option too. Like if you do have the ability to have multiple capacities, then what you could do is say, hey, this capacity I'm going to use for data set workloads, and then this other capacity I'm going to use strictly for Paginated reports. Now, just know that the workspaces, they've got to be split out when you do that. But and then Chris said that it's been 100% for almost a year. Sorry.
No.
I blame Patrick. So
yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. So also, Chris made a comment. Let me throw that up there. So Chris said that they had a rectangle cause a huge customer issue just yesterday. As soon as they removed the rectangle, problem solved. That's what I'm saying. If it's in a rectangle, move it out. If it's not in a rectangle, put it in. You'd be amazed at how many things that fixes.
Yeah.
I kid you not. So Chris, go have a chat with Robert Bruckner about all of those items we used to have back in the day. John Heidi would also know. It was good times. Good times. All right, buddy. What else? We're getting close to the end of this, and what other things are top of mind for you working with Paginate reports, Patrick?
So somebody posted a question, and it kind of scrolled past that I said Paginated reports or IT authored reports, right? And I'm going to stick to that. And they said, well, when is Microsoft going to make some effort to make it more of an end user type of thing, right? And so you have the Power BI report builder, you have the report builder, and those tools are out for anyone to download or anyone to use, right? Not just IT, but you got to think about what's required in building a paginated report. The first thing is accessing the data source. And with Power BI, we make it really easy. Get data, right? There's your data sources. If I'm going to a Power BI data set, piece of cake, no worries, But if you are trying to go against a source like SQL Server or Oracle or some relational database, it typically requires you to have some knowledge of writing queries. And that's usually beyond the scope of what a business analyst, the skills of a business analyst. So I don't think it's that we're lacking the tool, because Power BI Report Builder is a pretty good tool and it allows a lot of drag and drop capabilities, especially if you're connected to a data set. But go ahead.
I think the sense of that, though, is that
go ahead.
it's a lot easier from Power BI Desktop. It's more of that drag and drop, or as Christian Wade liked to say, clicky, clicky, draggy, droppy. With Pageant Reports, there's a ton more options that you have and more finer grained control, which give you that pixel perfect capability, right? Is Chris, what's Chris saying? I love Patrick. He just doesn't remember the stuff I tell him on our weekly calls. This is so true.
I don't remember the 100% thing. I don't remember the 100% thing.
That is true.
I just do not remember
Patrick,
that.
There's a lot to. Patrick's getting old a little bit, Chris. You know, you got to give him cut him some slack, man. But I would say in terms of usability and ease of ness, yes, Power BI Desktop is much more user-friendly, more geared for that business user that doesn't necessarily have maybe the in-depth knowledge on some of those things, whereas Report Builder it's got a steeper learning curve as part of it, but you can do so much more fine-grained type adjustments inside of a paginated report that Power BI Desktop today doesn't give you that capability to really get down to that level of fine grain support. So wait a second. It's not about the cell. Said, hold up, Power query folding in Power BI Report Builder. I know Chris Finland did an interview where he said he'd love to have it.
He'd love to have it.
He'd love to have it. Yes. Yeah. Power query inside of Paginate Reports. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. And he did have another comment there where he's prototyped it. So awesome. Awesome. Yeah. All right, sir. We are up against the clock. Thank you, everyone, so much for hanging out with us this Saturday morning. Please stay safe, and we're glad that we could give you something to do this fine morning with all the craziness in the world. So thanks for hanging out with us. We will definitely be on next week. I think next week we're going to talk about some the Power BI Desktop release that just happened. So we're gonna go through that a little bit. So, all right, everyone, have a great weekend. Rest of your weekend for you. Thank you so much for hanging out, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye bye.